Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. If you're like me, you're probably still trying to digest the last hour and a bit. That was fantastic, and it's actually quite fun to be coming in from that session, which was very focused on Indigenous peoples and culture, to come in and continue the conversation. It's my pleasure to facilitate this morning's session. My name is Scott Nolan. I'm the Vice Chair of People for Education. And it's been an honor to be part of this fantastic organization for the last 3 years and to listen to the discussions that pertain to the value and the future of public education. I'm constantly amazed at the output that this organization produces, and Annie and her team are just phenomenal people, and how they've become over a few years a preeminent voice and advocate for public education, not only in this province but around the world. I would like to thank our sponsor, Scholastic Education, for sponsoring this session this morning. And as you can imagine, sponsorship is very critical to everything that Public for Education does. And my shameless plug as a member of the board is for all of you to continue to support this great organization and Annie and her team, because they do some pretty amazing things. So I'm pretty excited this morning about this session on Indigenous education and what we can all learn from Pamela's messages. And at the organization People for Education, we strongly believe Indigenous education should not just be for Indigenous students. And we all have so much to learn and gain as a society when we embrace and learn from diverse voices and experiences. Diversity, exclusiveness, and equity are all hallmarks of a great public education system. So as you know, our organization actively helps to shape the dialogue both in Ontario and around the world about the purpose, value, and future of public education. One of the ways that we are capturing these voices, if you were able to log on any of your devices at peopleforeducation.ca, participatory-note-taking. If you want to take some notes, you want to ask some questions, we're gathering that over the course of the day. And we will be sharing that out with the public. So I just was reflecting on this morning and thinking about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's findings. And Justice Murray Sinclair said very specifically, education is what got us into this mess, but education is the key to reconciliation. We need to look at the way we are educating our children. That's why we say that this is not an Aboriginal problem, it's a Canadian problem. So we're going to talk all about how we can support well-being for all students through Indigenous teachings and perspectives. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Pamela Rose Toulouse. Dr. Toulouse is an associate professor in the Faculty of Education at Laurentian University. She's a National 3M Teaching Excellence Award Fellow and has been cited in Maclean's magazine as one of Laurentian's favorite professors. Originally from the Sagamok First Nation, Dr. Toulouse is a proud Ojibwe Adawa woman who comes from a long line of educators and continues her life journey in the field of education by representing her nation and profession in a respectful and meaningful way. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Toulouse.
Yeah, miigwech. All right, my good friends. So, miigwech for that. So I want to start off in a good way, and I want to acknowledge that I'm actually a visitor here. So I'm a visitor in the territory of the one dish, one spoon, and this is like, the meeting place. It's the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. So I want to start off because I am a visitor here, right? So another thing about who I am. So again, Wasa Ekawabit Kwenedijnakas, Sagmuk Nishnabek Donjaba Gnoje Dodem. So what that is, my friends, is that I have people know me as Dr. Pam, and that's my, my English my English name. But back home, my aunties gave me a name, and that name is She That Looks Ahead. So that is how I'm known. Not only that, I said, Sagmuk Nishnabek Donjaba. So where I come from is a community called Zgamuk, and it's right outside of Sudbury, about 90 minutes on Lake Huron. So that's my home community. So Donjaba, it's where I put my head. So Gnoja Dodem. So I said my family name. So I belong to a clan, and that clan is the Pike people. We're the original mediators and philosophers of our nation. And that's exactly, you know, the roles that we occupy, the teachers, the philosophers, and I'm very honored to be, you know, from a really good family that's not just about biology, but that we have relations everywhere by that clan. All right, so what we're going to do is you're going to look at me, you're going to take one hand, you're going to wave at me, and you're going to say, Ani. Ani. You're going to take another hand, you're going to wave, you're going to say, Sego. Oh, you're going to take any other hand and you're going to say, Wache. Another hand and Tonche. All right, my friends. Oh, you got 4 languages on the go. And those are some official languages in the province of Ontario, I'd like to tell you. So Ani is Ojibwe for hello, okay? Sego is actually Mohawk for hello. Wache is, again, Mushkegowik or else Cree for hello. And Tonche is Michif for hello, my good friends. So now what we're going to do is you're going to stand up and you're going to leave everything where it is on that chair. Oh, you got coffee going on. You got things. Oh, I wanted to have my snack. Yeah, oh, I had all kinds of stuff. Now, my good friends, here's what we're going to do, okay? So we're going to find a safe space in the room where you're not going to be bumping into anybody. So find a space, my good friends. Find a space, okay? You might want to stay where you are, and that's okay. Okay, you might want to stay where you are, and it's all good. Now, we're going to do a little activity, and this activity is called red light, yellow light, green light. When I say yellow light, you're just going to move around slow around the room. You're going to acknowledge people. Oh, say hi. Oh, yes, you know. And when I say green light, you're going to pick it up just a little bit, okay? Not too fast, though, all right? Not too fast. And when I yell red light, you're going to freeze, and you're going to wait for the next instructions. So, my gorgeous Nichka, my gorgeous friends. So, yellow light. Slowly move around the room. Acknowledge each other. Red light. Now, my good friends, you're going to gravitate towards some saucy folks. And these beautiful saucy folks are going to be in groups of 2, 3, or 4. There's no wrong way to form these groups. And you're going to introduce yourselves. And you're not going to be like, oh, yes, in fact, this is the organization that I represent. No, you're going to give your name and the number 1 role that you have in life. So what is it to be like a grandma, an auntie, a dad, a cousin? Who are you? And each person has 10 seconds apiece to do that. So sharing now in groups 2, 3, or 4. You could also say, I'm not sharing nothing. Starting now. Go ahead. Green light. You're going to move a little bit quick. You pick, Tracy. Yellow light, slow it down. Red light, groups of 2, 3, or 4. No wrong way to do this, or else you can say not at all. Now, with those saucy individuals, you are going to share this, your name, and what you're going to share in just 10 seconds is what makes you happy. You know, oh, my dog makes me happy, and it does because I'm a fur mama, okay? So else you let them know what makes you happy. Is it a beautiful blustery day like this? What is it? Once you've shared with your beautiful group what makes you happy, so your name and what makes you happy, you'll come back and grab a seat, okay? Do that now, my friends. Ten seconds.
I'll just wait after your 10 seconds.
Okay. We're at 5. Wrapping it up. So let them know what makes you happy, then grab a seat, my friends. Mutabin, which means to sit down. All right. So my good friends, you get to settle in. Oh, you get your coffee, your water. You're all like, oh, thank goodness, you know. Got my snacks. So we're going to be doing a couple of mini lessons, and then I'm going to be going from there. And then I'm going to be going into, like, you know, things related to measuring what matters and Mino B'Modswin, which is what we call the good life. And Mino B'Modswin, again, from my nation, from my communities, Gamuk, is really about the good life. And it's about, especially about the good life and what that means in our community, but more importantly, what the good life means in public education. So we're going to start off from a good place, so we all have the same level of knowledge, all right? And we're going to be doing some activities. So we're going to start with the first thing about measuring what matters. And it's also ensuring that particular content, Indigenous worldview and contributions, the good story, you know, the good things that we've done. And I think Maggie was so eloquent about what, you know, her presentation, when she talked about, all you ever hear about, you know, a lot of the time is like, you know, the stories that are hopeless, right? We hear about the things that are hopeless. And what Maggie did this morning in her keynote was she brought hope, right? Because that's what it is. It's about bringing hope. So I've been a teacher for 25 years, and I've taught at all levels, and now I'm like in post-secondary, but I'm very, very fortunate, you know, that I'm able to teach, because it's a gift, right? To teach and to learn. So we're going to start with the truth, my friends. Oh, I'm Nishnabek. But when I think about, you know, I think about Turtle Island, you know, so you know, you'll hear Indigenous peoples, oh, I'm from Turtle Island, you know, oh, and people go, oh, well, where's this Turtle Island business? Well, I'm going to tell you where Turtle Island is. Turtle Island is Canada. It's, you know, it's all of North America, the Circum-Caribbean, and the Mesoamericas. So when someone says I'm from Turtle Island, you better ask where. Yeah, because that's a lot of land. So we take a look at that. My own nation, Anishinaabe, we gave many gifts to the world that were never given credit for, right? And the reason being is that there is a colonial history that made sure that we could not patent anything. Like we were not allowed to patent. Lawyers could not represent us until like the 1960s, like flower power, oh yes, you know, so I'll go to Woodstock. So what happened was, it wasn't until the 60s that we were actually declared legally as human beings, and not only that, that we were actually allowed to vote. Right? So nothing could be patented. So a lot of people took our ideas and patented them. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this through a geographical lens for the next 15 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the contributions of Indigenous peoples by geographical location. Okay, so not culture, but by geography. So we know that in the Arctic, and this is again like, you know, where our wonderful Maggie is teaching as well, and several of our graduates also teach, like in northern and remote communities out of Laurentian. But some of the gifts that, again, the beautiful Inuit people, you know, that they gave to the world, some of the things that they gave is flotation devices, home insulation, kayaks, and portable space heaters, right? So ideas, so that's what they had. Portable space heaters, my friends, makes total sense, right? Because what they did is that they took like animal fat, and what they did was they rendered it so that it would become like a heating element for homes, right? So again, there's always this assumption, well, what did you give to the world? What do you continue to give? But these are some of the things. We look at, oh, California, oh, pop culture area, oh, here we go. What some of the nations that are located in that geographical location gave to the world asphalt, chewing gum, detergents, and hair conditioners. And thank goodness that they did. Circum-Caribbean, because I mean, look, I didn't get these lovely locks, you know, on my own. So now I can thank my Indigenous brothers and sisters in that area. Circum-Caribbean, again, our beautiful, beautiful Indigenous folks that live in that geographical area gave to the world avocados, cigars, hammocks, and sweetened bell peppers. I am so glad. And I'll be putting this online, folks, so don't worry about it, okay, if you don't have it. Great Basin. So again, our Shoshone folks, you know, beautiful Paiute, gave to the world laminated bows, oral contraception, ephedra, and insecticides. So that's some of the gifts that in that geographical area, Indigenous peoples gave to the world, okay? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's like the needle in the haystack. Now this one I love. Absolutely love, okay? So what I want you to do, my friends, is I want you to use your hands. So let me see your hands, okay? You can do this or not, it's okay, or use one hand or use no hands at all. What I want you to do is I want you to take those hands, okay? And I want you to show me what a teepee looks like. What does it look like? Oh, there it is. Oh, there, yeah. It's really big. All right. So I want you to tell, again, I want you to show me, okay? So there we've got, you know, that teepee. And these are the most common myths about Indigenous peoples. So what I want you to do is show me what a headdress looks like. What does it look like, you know? Oh, there it is. You know, maybe it's there. Maybe it's a little single, you know, feather, you know, whatever it is. All right. So what I'm going to tell you is Great Plains, eh? So that geographical area has about 25 very distinct nations, very distinct and beautiful Indigenous nations. And the Great Plains people are the only ones that ever had teepees, right? They had to follow the buffalo. That's what they did. And not only that, what happened was at the turn of the, again, pop culture took this cartoon version of the Great Plains people. And again, what it did is that it took a cartoon version and it went like this, put it everywhere. Oh, I'm going to put it on Land O'Lakes butter. I'm going to put it in, of course, Louis L'Amour novels, headdresses. You know, I'm going to put it in advertisements for Indian motorcycle, right? So it was everywhere. And when the reserves were created through the Indian Act, what happened was a lot of that knowledge, right? So all of a sudden we were put out of the view of everybody. And nobody could see us, right? Let's put them over here. So then all of a sudden it's saturated everywhere, and these myths, all these myths start to happen, and actually quite destructive myths, because at the root of Indigenous students' success is self-esteem, right? Knowing who I am, knowing that I feel good about myself, knowing that I have food security, knowing that I have all of these things. And when you have violence every day going like this, and messages saying that you're not, you know, a worthwhile two-legged or a worthwhile human being that's not, like, you know, valued, then that's when you have, like, you know, a lot of very serious issues, like the risks related to suicide, again, and all kinds of other things that happen in our communities. So, Great Plains people gave to the world antiviral meds, calendars, disposable diapers, and sign language. So that's what they gave to the world, my friends. Not only that, the Mesoamericans, our brothers and sisters, again, in that geographical area, Indigenous gave the abacus anesthetics, base 20 math and geometry. And Anishinaabeg people, our base system is not base 10, and this is why measuring what matters, everybody goes, oh, well, numeracy, everything's all base 10. Well, for us Anishinaabeg, our base system is actually base 4, 7, and 13. Yeah. And Mushkegowuk people, theirs is base 13 because they have like their own moon system. So our base, even our base systems in numeracy are actually quite different, right? And it's all interrelated. So the next one, the Northeast, antibiotic meds, astronomy, again, DreamWorks psychology, and potato chips, my friends, okay? Now listen, I love potato chips, you know, and I got like lots of confidence. I love my body. I've earned every curve, my friends. So that's why when I look at this, the Northeast, those Indigenous folks gave this to the world. So potato chips, but astronomy and DreamWorks psychology. So, a lot of psychologists, and you think about Erickson's developmental theories, a lot of them actually came from contact and again, work with Indigenous peoples. But what happened is that a lot of folks would take that knowledge and make it their own, right? So that's what happened. So again, I'm going to go to the next one, the Northwest. So again, the beautiful, like Stolo and Tlakapma people gave to the world these things. Architects, hemostats, which is a medical device which draws blood from the body but also can draw it in. They gave looms and X-ray art, which is harnessing the sun's power to create images on their longhouses, okay? So the Plateau folks gave the Appaloosa horse breed, embroidery, military tactics, and plant classification. So they had their own ways, again, to classify plants. And that's what the beautiful Indigenous folks gave, again, in that area. The Southeast gave to this, and you can go check this out later, but again, civic centers. If you go and even Google Chaco Canyon, you'll actually see the remnants of, Indigenous people's homes, which housed 10,000 people, and not only that, it had its own sewage and irrigation systems, right? It had its own sewage and irrigation. So you go check out Chaco Canyon, you'll see the remnants of it, right? And everybody says, oh, they disappeared. Well, no, they didn't disappear. It's actually called the Indian Removal Act in the States, so there was nothing about disappearing. So some of the gifts that we gave to the world are those things. Apartment complexes, the sport of basketball. The difference is the WNBA, our Canadian version, and the NBA didn't hold a candle to the Southwest, their version of basketball. It was actually played to the death, okay? Yeah, so they're very different. Surgical drainage and road systems. So the road systems. Any good highway, I'm not talking the 407 ETR where you're going to pay like, $27 or whatever every time you're on it. But what I'm talking about is the majority of road systems in the province of Ontario and going into the States, into New York and into Michigan were built on the trail systems of the Anishinaabeg, the Mushkegowuk, and the Haudenosaunee peoples, okay? But you'll never see that on a map. But it was actually built on our actual trail systems. Last but not least, subarctic areas. So again, we have our Mushkegowuk folks, what we gave to the world, of course, and some Anishinaabeg. Board games, copper mining, hockey, and multilingualism. So the sport of hockey coming from Algonquin women. Jesuits, when they came here, had, the gift that they had was they recorded everything, and this is what they observed, was the sport of hockey. So, my good friends, what I would like you to do is you're going to stand up. You're going to find a safe space in the room, so find a safe space anywhere at all, good friends, okay? And what you're going to do is I'm going to give you a cue. You know how to do it, okay? Yellow light, green light, or red light, and I'm going to start you off nice and slow. So what you're going to do is yellow light, good friends, yellow light. Green light, mipto, mipto, mipto. Run. Yellow light. Red light. Groups of 2, 3, or 4, no wrong way to do this, or don't form a group at all. What you're going to do is you're going to introduce yourself, what's your name, and what is one key thing that you took away from that, okay? You're like, I took away nothing. All I know is that I need some food. I'm hungry. Yeah, so again, what is the one key thing you took away so far from that? So sharing now with that good friend. Or not.
I can't believe it. I'm stuck on it. That's right, Judge. I'm boron from Ottawa.
It's like the story of my grandfather was actually the guide at Alexander. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah. I'm also wondering why, perhaps
Yellow light. Yellow light. Yellow light. Green light, Mipto Dickit. Hurry up, I said, run. Red light. Now, all right. Groups of 2, 3, or 4, or 5. I mean, it's okay. There's no wrong way to do this. You're going to share this final thing, then you're going to return back to your areas. Of course, you're going to share your name, of course, right? And you're going to share one thing that you learned from somebody else, okay? From somebody else, okay? So what did you learn from somebody else? And if you're like, I don't even remember. Yeah, then you can just fake it, okay? You can be like, oh, yes, oh, this is what I learned. So you'll do that now. Once you've shared, you'll come back to your seats. Name and what did you learn from someone else? 1 minute.
And board them all into a spot.
We're saying, how can we learn more about those histories that are lost, that are hidden from us?
Yeah. So that actually comes from the work of Indigenous researchers in the southern U.S. actually, Keoki and Porterfield, right? So I've written a couple of books about it, but there's also like all kinds of like online curriculum too, through like the Elementary Teachers Federation, the First Nations, Métis and Inuit Educator Association of Ontario. Yeah, all kinds. You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Start making your way back. Start making your way back. All right. Time to mud bin. Okay. So we start off again from those spaces, right? We start off from sharing and starting with a similar knowledge base, right? And some of the key takeaways is that a lot of folks maybe have not heard this, or else heard about the contributions. And the reason being is that when it comes to measuring what matters, when it comes to curriculum and experiences, that some of the absolute key things are to always highlight the gifts that we give. Because there's a focus on, there's residential school history, there's the importance of treaty, because we are all treaty people. I mean, 100% of Canadian lands are on Indigenous lands, right? So it's important to understand that, to do treaty education and to devote that time to it as well. And then often, whenever our stories are taught, or else our history, or else our contributions, is that they often get overshadowed by the stories that are without hope. And that's why I was so glad to see that Maggie was here today, and so that I could build upon that. So those contributions come from the work of Keoki and Porterfield. I also do work, wrote a couple of books and stuff like that, with lesson plans about it, but there's also the First Nations, Métis and Inuit Educator Association of Ontario, also has several resources that can be used. And not only that, every school board in Ontario has an Indigenous lead, okay, an Indigenous education lead that is the go-to person, and also is the person that can develop relationships with the community, okay, really, really important. So time immemorial, well-being, and I'm going to show you an example from the report card, but specifically on the skills part, right? So, the skills talk about, self-regulation and responsibility, and we got to make comments, educators do that, or parents, you see it, and you're like, okay, where did these comments come from, and what does that actually mean? So I'm going to show you that later on, and how it connects. So this comes from, again, my community, Anishinaabe people, and we're only 1 out of 500 nations on Turtle Island. So this is, again, what we see. So since time immemorial, we had this teaching called, again, it's Mino Bamadzawin, or else the good life. I'm going to live the good life. So what does the good life look like, right? So again, we don't have any, we don't say, this is when Mino Bamadzawin began. I mean, Mino Bamadzawin is time immemorial. It's beyond us and beyond our own understanding, because there is no timeline for Mino Bamadzawin. I can't say it's 10,000 years ago or whatever it is. We just say time immemorial. So whenever we talk about, about measuring what matters, is that some of the key things besides, literacy and numeracy for our people is to ensure that Mino Bamadzawin for our kids is considered, right? And you'll hear about this, the Haudenosaunee, the Mohawk folks, the Seneca, Tuscarora, the Cayuga, Onondaga folks, Oneida, have their own, good life, right? They have their own Mino Bamadzawin in their language. And for us, we say that, listen, measuring what matters comes down to ensuring that there's a balance, okay, a balance for our kids in public education, that there's a balance of the physical, the emotional, the intellectual, and the spiritual. And what the spiritual really means is this. The spiritual is not about an institution or anything. It's about, the spiritual means that we have a connection to each other that runs deeper, that's beyond our comprehension. It means that we have a collective consciousness to want to do better, to want to be better, to want to contribute and make sure that Shkogmakwe, that the earth, that she's healed, that we can see beyond ourselves, right? So that's what the spiritual is, a deeper connection to ourselves, so that as two-leggeds we take responsibility and take care of the earth. So that's what Mino Bamadzwin is, and measuring what matters for us. It's seeing these things embedded in public education, and seeing it embedded in a good way, okay? And really important to have that. These are the things for us that make a good Nishnabek, a good two-legged, right? It makes a good two-legged, a good child, young person, you know, that becomes an adult, that becomes an elder, or else becomes the elderly, that is the most important to us. So it means that in public education, these things are honored, and that everybody has an opportunity to develop their gifts in a respectful space, right? So again, that's really important. So it's harnessing, well, what is the gift of that child? And we think about those learning skills in the report card, you know, you look at things like, you know, taking responsibility and initiative, right? So that's a part of Mino Bamadzwin. It fits in there. But there are certain things about that, again, about Mino Bamadzwin that are not always honored, right? So again, our own understandings of responsibility often may conflict with that, you know, because we come from different value sets as well. And I'm going to give you an example, and we're going to be doing it by activity with the people beside you, okay? So, it means that all of our community members are able to contribute to society, right? So again, our own communities and the technological world, you know, and this is the world that we live in. So some of the things is, what is it? So it's about well-being. It's about identity. So this is what we see as the gift that public education can also receive. Is again teaching, you know, that identity and language is important, that well-being is important, that connecting to the land is important, you know, that those land-based experiences, the teachings are important, and also teaching, you know, that there is an inherent right to be self-determining, which is also self-regulation, okay? So there's the living the good life. So it's about the whole being. It's about everything, you know, it's about all of us. It's about my physical health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and we're going to do an activity with that. It means that part of measuring what matters is that definitely the spiritual is that our kids and youth and you know, walk out of school and walk in schools, and that what they do is that they're always very conscious of their footprint in the world, right? Conscious of it, and they do something about it. So not just to be aware, but to do something about it. That's what measuring what matters is important to us. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to turn to a buddy. Okay, this is done in groups of 2 or 3. You're not going to be walking around. Turn to a friend, and I'm going to have you do an activity or shimmy on over a couple seats. Perfect. You're gonna look at that beautiful saucy individual or individuals, and you're going to let them know this, okay? You're gonna let them know this. You're gonna let them know, okay, who it is or what it is, okay, that makes you laugh. So what brings laughter to your world? Share that now, about 15 seconds apiece. What brings laughter to you? Yeah. Who makes you laugh? What makes you laugh?
I'm still under the shock. I met with my student that I taught 12 years ago overseas.
Right on. Oh my
And I haven't really aged. I'm like, whoa.
Still looking good.
She recognized me. I couldn't recognize her.
Yeah.
But I remember her.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
So my apologies. That's why.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. You're all good, Louis. Wrapping it up. Okay. When I say cha, you say bop cha. Bop cha. Bop cha. Bop. Perfect. Cha bop. So, really important. So we were talking about what brings laughter, and this is also like about what warms the heart, what brings us happiness, right? So one of the things, chabapa in my language is actually the word for laughter or for humor, right? And one of the biggest things when you look at Indigenous cultures and Maggie as well, this morning the speaker would have experience with that. But one of the biggest examples of trust and why we really have to think about those learning skills in the report card is the biggest symbol of trust for our people is when we laugh together and when we tease you in a good way. Okay, I mean tease in a good way. So I mean not you know in the gut when it's a disrespectful thing, but when we tease and like, oh yes, and we joke around. So for our kids, that's the first entry point of trust, right, and safety. And why, when we take a look at a lot of the times, when we look at our technological society, the world that we're in and that our public education systems are situated in, is that laughter is often viewed as having a time and place, right? There's an appropriate time and place. And often laughter and teasing can often be seen as inappropriate behavior, right? So I really want to bring that because measuring what matters and the report card and those particular learning skills, it's really important when working with our people to consider those things, right? That there's particular value differences in the way that we trust, right? So this is why it's really key. So measuring what matters is, again, goes beyond just testing. It goes beyond literacy and numeracy. And many of you, may have experience with EQAO. And I used to sit on the board for EQAO. So a lot of people, have, whatever thoughts about it. That's good. Yeah, it's always good to have critical conversations about things. But I used to be on the board and be able to talk about the importance of, First Nations values and infusing First Nations content in those particular ways of testing, right? And so that there was a balance that was brought. So again, and my view is that literacy and numeracy is important, but there's so much more. Measuring what matters. So measuring things like creativity, how do we do that? So in the physical domain, in our particular Mino Bimodswin, again, way of seeing the world, is that these things are important to us, right? So again, having health competencies is absolutely key. And you'll actually see the competencies, they're in your packages, which comes from People for Education and Measuring What Matters. But some of the things that are important to us as well are, ensuring that our people are fit, that we're out on the land, that we're engaged in activity, right? So that we can also combat those stats that always come out about us. Oh, they got the greatest risk of diabetes. Some of that might be true, but there's reasons, right? And it's related to food security. So some of the things that I really want to say is that in the physical domain, health is important. So measuring what matters in public education, again, health is important. But it's also these things. It's also understanding that, that physical activity is important. It's about enjoying ourselves out on the land or else whatever experiences we have. Emotional is also understanding, mental health issues, like understanding it and breaking away from that stigma, right, of mental health issues, and so that it doesn't have a stigma. I mean, this whole idea of normalness is not real either. We all know that, You can take normal and just throw it out the door. Making healthy choices. So again, and that goes right back to the report card as well, is that, you know, that we're personally responsible for our wellness, but that we also learn that, we learn it in schools together and in our families. And the spiritual, and this is in relation to sexuality, and it's also understanding that sexuality is a healthy part of being human. And again, like in our culture, it's very, again, Anishinaabeg people, is that it's a part of who we are. And so it's not something, you know, to not be discussed. It's something that is a part of who we are, and that is also talked about in particular ways. So we talk about what it means to be a good human being, right? What it means to be a good male, what it means to be a good female, and what it means to be a good two-spirited person, you know? So that's what we do. We talk about those teachings. What does that mean? It means to be respectful of our bodies, you know, and to treat it like, you know, in a good and kind way, right? So these are some of the things that we value, and this is what matters, right, when it comes to the physical. The emotional. So there's particular social skills and competencies that are important to us. So, and part of that is also for our kids to understand that their actions affect somebody else. Everything that I say and do has an effect, right? Everything. So part of the emotional domain is for our kids to understand that whatever I say and do has an effect. And one of the key things that we like to teach that's really important as part of the emotional domain and measuring what matters is the concept of the soul wound. And I'm going to give you an example. So again, this is all Mino Bamadzwin. So the soul wound is this. It's any time that our kids and our teenagers, right, they're hurt in some way. So if I go to Martha and I intentionally or unintentionally hurt Martha, say something, you know, or else do something that hurts Martha, and, you know, then what I do is I actually take a little part of Martha's spirit. And that's what I've done. I've taken a part of her spirit, you know. And if you're continually being subjected to that, and not only that, but myself as the one that does the hurting, right? That what happens, a little part of my spirit leaves too. So this is our belief, Mino Bamadzwin, that what happens is that we get to a point where, you know, we've been hurt so much, and that we become numb, right? We become numb to it. And so we actually, when it comes to measuring what matters, we want our kids to understand that their actions, their words have very significant consequences, not just to the other being, and that's not just two-leggeds, but the earth and everything, but also to themselves. So we actually do things to bring back those spirit parts to make them whole again. But it's just, you'll see that when people have been really hurt, there's almost like it's blank, right? Because that's a way to like to help preserve the self. So measuring what matters is those things. And not only that, it's also important that as part of that they understand that everything is sacred. So that's what's measuring what matters for us as far as the emotional domain. That they understand that they have the power to make decisions and have strategies and to work with others to make decisions, but also to understand that they have to be humble with their decisions too, right? That I can't be like, oh, I did all that. Oh, yes, look at me. Yeah, look at me. We celebrate each other's successes, but we do it in a humble way, and we acknowledge the collective, right? We say, yes, I was helped because my grandma did, or my teacher did, or my counselor did, that we acknowledge that, or else the earth did, or that my dog did, right? So we acknowledge that. So again, those are some of the things that matter to us, and also knowing that they are a critical member of the world. The intellectual, so citizenship. So these are the types of skills that, you know, and competencies that matter to us as well, is this whole idea, you know, that it's important that our kids in public education learn about their own traditional governments. Like myself, the clan system is my government, right? And the Haudenosaunee, again, their Great Law of Peace is their government. And the Great Law of Peace was actually what informed the development of the U.S. Constitution. If you look at the American dollar, you'll see the bundle of arrows. That's the Haudenosaunee. That's their story and sign that the Americans took and made as their own. So the other things is that understanding that in order to be citizens, good citizens, is that we have to walk in two worlds. We walk in our traditional world, our own teachings, but we also need to understand, to be good citizens, how to navigate, again, this world as well, right? So those are some of the other things as well. The other part of civic skills is also knowing when to act and when not to act. That it's okay, that not everything has to have, an action plan. So knowing that as well. And also knowing that, that it is important to always ensure that the beliefs and traditions of our people, that they're honored, right? So those 7 living teachings for Anishinaabeg, the great law of peace for the, again, and those beautiful teachings for the Haudenosaunee peoples. So this, again, that particular level of citizenship. The last but not least, my friends, is the spiritual. And this is all about creativity and measuring what matters in schools. And it's creativity. And it's understanding that anything that they do, any creative work, anything that they do in class, whether it's creative discussions, whether it's creative work, whatever it is that no matter what, is that creativity is the meeting point of this, of knowledge and the sacred. Right? Everything that we produce is sacred. Yeah. So that's the thing that we really want to see, and that our people are very creative, and that's to be honored. The other part of it is also for creativity, is for our kids in public education to be able to understand and be curious, be allowed to be curious. And that's why inquiry and problem-based learning is absolutely critical, because it's reflects a traditional way of learning. And that is that we learn by being curious, by asking questions, and accepting that maybe we're not going to get the answers, because we live in a world, in a technological world, that always wants to understand, oh, there's nothing mysterious. There's no mystery anymore. Oh my goodness, we got all the answers. So part of that, part of creativity for us is knowing that, being curious, but the mystery always exists. Yeah, always, because it's sacred. So the other part of this is, my friend, is also, understanding that they have the opportunity to dream always, right? And measuring what matters, opportunities in class to always dream and to visualize what they can become and what they are right now. So this is also what matters to us. So, my friends, we are going to do an activity that has to do with dreaming. So, my good friends, what you're going to do is you're going to stand up for the last time. What you're going to do, you're getting a workout. What we're going to do is we're going to reach up high to the sky and we're going to go wish-pa-ming, which means that we're reaching up high. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down, but we're going to go like this. We're going to flick and we're going to go nungongs. Nungongs, which in my language is stars, the stars. What you're going to do, my friends, now is you're going to turn to a friend. It's either groups of 2, 3, or 4, okay, at the very most, in 10 seconds apiece, okay? What you're going to do is this. You're going to, again, you're going to have an opportunity to come up with like these things. So it is your own dream and vision for public education. So what you're going to do is you're going to share that I dream or else I visualize that public education had this, okay? What does it have to have, okay? And you're going to share 10 seconds a piece, and if you're like, I don't know, so you know what? You let someone that talks lots, let them, and they'll be like, yeah, that's me too, yeah. Okay? So starting now, 10 seconds a piece. Yeah, what is your dream for public education? I'm good. How about you?
Great.
Yeah, yeah. Seconds. All right. When I say kinna, you say there. Kinna.
There.
Kinna.
There.
Kinna.
There.
I want you to look at that gorgeous individual or individuals, and I want you to say miigwech. Now, we are going to sit down, which might have been in my language, so grab a seat. So, miigwech is Anishinaabe, my language for thank you. So we start off from a place of thanks, right? And a lot of Anishinaabe, like, you know, and a lot of our nations on Turtle Island, is that any time that you'll hear like any of our, like whether it's a Thanksgiving address from the Haudenosaunee peoples or else in our territories, we always start off everything that we're thankful for. The Thanksgiving address. You know, we always start off, I'm thankful for this. So whenever we're engaged in some type of prayer or ceremony, asking for something is probably one of the last thoughts. Yeah. So we always give thanks first, right? So a lot of things that we do are always about that giving thanks. So, and the other thing is that I said kinade. So this is also one of the things, again, when it comes to understanding the country we live in, every Indigenous nation has a story about Canada and the land, right? What they call it. You have the Wendat people, oh, there we go, the Wendats, the Hurons, their story about Canada. Kanata, right? We all see the little the image for 2 minutes there, and there's so much more to that beautiful story, right? It's just a small Kanata, but Nishnawbek, we also call this land we call it Kinadea. So Merlisance Beatty, who's been in the spirit world now for about 8 years, was one of our elders for the nation. And she talked about Kinadea. She goes, oh, that's what we call Canada. It sounds similar, but we say Kinadea. And what Kinadea is this. Kina is like the short form for Kinagego, which means everything that you see around you, eh? Kinagego, everything you see around you. I have this beautiful person here, the floor, everything. Kinagego, everything you see around you. And de, you'll hear that word in our language a lot. That sound in Nishnawbek. So, de means the heart, but the heart actually comes from something greater than ourselves, right? The heart comes from Gjemnido, the creator, however you come to understand something. And actually for us, Gjemnido is the great mystery. Yeah, something beyond our comprehension. Yeah, we can't even understand it. So we say that, Kinade, how we understand Canada and the land is through this, right? So everything that we see around us has the heart of the creator. right? So that's what it means, right? So that is pretty significant, especially, you know, during Remembrance Day ceremonies and all of that, that we see that we regard this land, everything, as embodying the heart of something greater than ourselves, right? So that's why when it comes to measuring what matters is that, you know, when we think about those learning skills and Indigenous kids, is that we need to think about different ways maybe to report on it, but to think about how those competencies that I talked about earlier, you know, the holistic ones, how those can also help to inform and also to help build people's spirits, right? Especially in a time when we're all being challenged every day, right? So to build up our own spirits. So with that, you're going to go like this. You're going to give that to somebody else. Go to the side. Go Nungos. Oh, good stuff. Give yourself the Nungos. Good. And we're giving ourselves stars. In my territory, we're in freezing moon, we call it, and it really is freezing in Sudbury right now. But freezing moon, this beautiful time, is also a time of dreaming. So we say that the stars seem like they're closer to us, right? So this is the time that we encourage our kids and our youth, you know, to start dreaming. Yeah, start dreaming. Look out to that, you know, to the stars and the universe, and start making your plans. Yeah, start dreaming, envisioning everything and the potential, you know, that you have. Yeah, so we're in freezing moon right now. We have 13 moons, yeah, in my territory. So, my gorgeous friends, I am going to stop on that note, and I just want to, if a couple of people want to share their key insights, or else if you have a question, if I can't answer it, I just basically say Manshidik, which is I don't know, and I'll try to find somebody that does. So if you want to just, we're going to take maybe about 6-7 minutes for your feedback. What is it, your key takeaway, or else what is a question that you have? Yes, Jimbo.
Can we just stay here all weekend? I really feel like we're in a happy place here. Yeah, I do. I just I feel like we're among friends, and I feel everyone in this room has kind of acquired or let out that sense of positivity and feeling valued, and you're important too, that kind of thing. So I'm happy to stay here all week and send out for food.
Yeah,
that's my takeaway.
Miigwech, Jimbo, yeah. So again, miigwech, nichke, that sound again, the heart. Yeah, we'll keep on going. Miigwech. Yeah, yeah, miigwech, Jimbo. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
I just want to say, for people who are in Toronto this weekend, the Star People.
Yeah.
And so many of our Indigenous people associate their origin stories from the stars.
Yes.
That Red Sky, I saw this show on Wednesday, has a show called Traced. And it's about the footprints in the world and how we connect and star people. And it's at Canadian Stage, and it's on this weekend until the end of the weekend. So look it up. If you get a minute, like it would just take what we've had this hour here and bring an hour of dance and movement and bringing it to life. It's a pretty fabulous show.
Good. Miigwech, yeah. Mabakwe, yeah, this lady, yeah.
Namaste. My name is Rashmi, and thank you very much for your connection. I was extremely moved by the soul wound of which you spoke, because the loss of children in anyone's life is the worst thing that can happen, and that has happened on this land, and the loss of language also. So I was just thinking, I was at OISE yesterday. I'm a PhD student there, and we have the decolonizing conference going on there at this time. And a few of us are in conversation about global competencies. And folks were asking me, how come you're not there the whole time? Because I was here today. And I knew there was a reason. And this was the reason. So I can continue the conversation having learned from you, because that then is the context of how we nurture the children in our care and how we nurture ourselves and heal our soul wounds also. So miigwech.
Yeah, miigwech. Namaste. Yeah.
Miigwech, for your wonderful teaching of us here today. and this is the second time this morning that I'm crying. The way you made us connect to each other. If all of us as teachers can do more of that with our students, in whatever age or setting, I think that that will make a difference. So thank you.
Yes, miigwech.
Miigwech. I used to always say merci in French, but now, miigwech. So it's your second time crying. I've been crying since the morning non-stop. Humble. Someone had told me once, you don't have in your dictionary the word humble. How do you teach a person to be humble?
Yeah. I mean, humility is probably, actually, I don't need that one at all. Thank you, though, Louis. Yeah. So to me, humility, right, is a very difficult thing to teach because we think about a technological world that values, right? Values pride. We stand up for all our successes. Oh, look at all the things. Look at all the credentials and awards I've received, right? So actually, what teaches humility, for me, from our culture, what teaches humility is being out on the land. Yeah. So land-based experiences and being with elders and Métis senators, or whoever it is that's your elders, teaches that, right? And if it's, especially but if you're working with teenagers, what teaches them humility besides the land? It's going to be being with young ones. Yeah, being with children, because children, those Benojis, and in our language, Benojis is actually translated, means raising little spirits. Yeah, that's Benojis, the little ones. That's what teaches humility, but being out on the land, because Mother Earth teaches us to be humble pretty quickly. Yeah, no matter what. And the greatest teachers, right? But it's either having that time alone, and that's really difficult because we have kids that are hooked all the time onto devices, right? So it's actually having them taking a step away from those devices. There's actually studies that have shown, and I can actually share some of that, it's amazing, is that our youth, right, even though they're hooked up globally through social media, are experiencing some significant levels of loneliness, right? So what does that say? So humility comes from a teacher that is greater than ourself. And what's greater than ourself? That's the land, right? So land-based activities, right? And being shared, and also children. Children and elders. I'm always humbled, especially by kids and also by beings other than human beings, right? So every day, because I'm a fur mom, I'm also devoted and an activist in animal and wildlife rescue. So my animals teach me to be humble, right? Yeah, they really do. Dr. Pam, when I walk through the door, disappears when my little Chiweenie has taken a big poop on the floor. So believe me, But there's teachers everywhere, right? So humility, and it means unplugging. It means really unplugging. Yeah, really. That's where it comes from. So miigwech.
Any other questions? I'm going to take the last question then. Change in society is slow. It's never as fast as we want it to be, and we've been hearing great messages of inclusiveness and diversity. What would be the first couple of things you would want to see immediately that would influence our policymakers to become more inclusive of Indigenous education, cultural sensitivity, what have you, that would have a positive impact in the public education system?
Yep. So two levels. So number one level, the very first influence is people in this room, right? And not necessarily even just, doing something devoted to Indigenous education, but doing something like an act of kindness, just being very aware the importance of being kind, right? To each other, when we walk outside, supporting those and being just committed to equity and social justice. That's the first thing for people in here. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do something for the Indigenous community, because I think that any time that you do an act of kindness and commit to social justice is that that spreads, right? I mean, kindness spreads, period. But the other thing when it comes to Indigenous education, support our teachers. Fully support our teachers, you know, so that they have the resources and they also have the release time to actually get the training. So like what happens like right now in the province is that all of the curriculum writing teams in Truth and Reconciliation were shut down, okay, that were not funded. But that didn't stop teachers, right? So people like, you know, the Oise opened up its library, so did we up at Laurentian. But the thing is, I would say the policy has to be support teachers in implementing, again, Indigenous curriculum in a good way and ensuring that things like Orange Shirt Day, you know, and that Orange Shirt Day and also that, that Project of Heart activities, like social justice activities, get funded. Because teachers are like the front line, right? They're the front line of what's happening, right? And that's, they need to be supported because they've got like a million demands. Got to do this, got to do that, and it's always check, 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 right? But support teachers, yeah, support them. So that would be the number one thing for policy for me is support them, yeah. So that's it. Yeah, so miigwech, everybody, miigwech.